Excellent. Right. Hi, people who are coming in. Welcome. I'll keep minding the people who are arriving. Well, yeah, it's time to start. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first session of 2023 of the Human-Wildlife Interactions Working Group of the Conservation Translocation Specialist Group of IUCN. And I think we'll give a couple of minutes as people are arriving. While we're waiting, just a heads up, we are recording the session so that we can share with everyone and with people who cannot be with us today. And there'll be a talk by the LIFE Lynx colleagues who very kindly accepted our invitation. After the talk, where they will introduce some aspects very relevant to everyone here, we'll have a Q&A and a extended discussion as we usually do. If you haven't taken part in one of these before, there is plenty of opportunity to share your own experiences and ask questions. This is a group that focuses on pragmatic approach to reintroduction, so everyone is welcome to share their experiences from the field and ask questions, and we'll share resources as we go. Okay, so welcome everyone, and I'm going to pass you on to Faye, who organized today's session, and Faye will be chairing it. Okay, so I'll be helping in the background. Faye.
Thank you, Adriana, for the introduction. So today is the first talk from the LIFE Lynx Project. Today we're covering saving the lynx from extinction, actively involving hunters in the LIFE Lynx Project's conservation activities. So we have two presenters today. We have Roxanne, who is the coordinator of the LIFE Lynx Project and has previously coordinated the LIFE Denalt Bear Project. So Rox's a forester by profession and has been working for more than 10 years as a project manager for wildlife of the Slovenia Forest Service. We also have as a second presenter today, Tilen Havala, who is an MSc forestry student who's always been interested in wildlife and is happy to be involved in such an important lynx conservation project. Tilen carries out communication and educational activities for hunters at the Hunters Association of Slovenia. So I'll let Rox take to the floor.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Let me share the screen now. It's gonna work just another.
So for the people who are arriving, just remind everyone that we are recording the session, and the microphones will be muted through the presentation, but during the discussion, everyone is welcome to turn the camera and microphones on. And back to presenting.
Okay, so do you see the screen?
It's in presenter mode at the minute for me.
Okay, so again, this thing. Okay, let me do this too. Is it working now?
Almost there. We can see your screen. So if you go into presentation, should be it.
Yeah, I am in presentation on my computer. That's the thing. But there is a problem. I don't know what's going on. Is it still the same? Yeah. So I've got screen 1, screen 2. What about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Thank you very much. So thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to present what we are working on. So in general, I will give kind of an overview of some of the project, how it came to the project. And within this process, I will explain how we involve hunters and others. So when working with nature conservation, or especially with conflict species, it became kind of self-evident that communication is necessary, especially with presentations, articles, Facebooks, webpage, discussions, and so on. But is it really enough to convince the people that this is important? I basically think not. We need more. We need to create ownership of the results among the people, in our case, especially the hunters, so they take the results of the project and the work of the project as their own. So for this, it is important that we do more than just present what we do and explain what is important. So let me give you a short overview what happened in the lynx in the past in Slovenia, so you will get an insight where we work. Lynx was extinct in end of 19th century from Slovenia due to heavy hunting. So it was hunted, considered as a pest. Low ungulate numbers, because also the ungulates were considered more as an unnecessary species. So also red deer were eradicated, wild boar, roe deer in really small numbers, as you see in this graph. And also the forest. This is part of Slovenia where we had good data. So about 150 years ago in Slovenia was just half of the forest as it is now. So also the habitat was not good. Then all this improved, and back in 73, hunters and foresters, this is really important, hunters and foresters decided to bring back the lynx to Slovenia, and they released it. So I will come back to this later, because that the hunters brought back the lynx is really an important fact when we were doing the communication of what we are doing. So this was really successful, the whole story. The lynx spread to Bosnia, Croatia, even to Italy. But then something happened. Then in that time it was not clear what's going on. The population started to decrease. Here I'm showing the mortality. One important thing is also that lynx was brought back as a species to be hunted, as a trophy species. It was for nature conservation purposes, but also as a trophy, as one of the lead hunters said back then when they released the animals. So the problems with the populations occur, and with the genetic results, we found out that the problem is inbreeding, because just 6 animals were brought back in '73, and inbreeding was recognized as a problem, and we were actually close to another extinction of the species in this part of Europe. So this is now pretty important for what I want to present. So back in 2013, it was a scientific article which was showing that inbreeding is a problem. And that article was created within a project where Slovenia Forest Service was also involved. So this was really important. So we also were part of the results. We are not co-authors of the project. I think in the future this would be better if also managers are included as co-authors in such articles, and the hunters. So they are part of the results, and they feel the responsibility to address this problem. Also, when we did the project at the beginning, it was really important that the hunters brought back the lynx, and we presented this as their heritage and kind of their responsibility also to take care of the lynx as part of their heritage. So the next step in Slovenia were the national strategic documents. Here, really important, who was in the group which was working on this document. So it was ministry, obviously, because they are the responsible, but it was the Hunting Association, Slovenia Forest Service, Institute for Nature Conservation, and university. And already when creating this document, we together decided what needs to be done. So when preparing the project, we already kind of had an agreement what needs to be done, because we were working together on the national strategic document. It would be much more difficult if the ministry would prepare the document, for example, and then say, okay, Slovenia Forest Service and Hunting Association has to do it. So being part of the process was a really important step here, in this case, also for Slovenia Forest Service and for Hunters Association, that we felt responsible to participate and to carry out such a project. And after this, the LIFE Lynx project application happened, where everybody except the ministry is now partner in Slovenia. So general public support is really important. We had the data from the year 2010 that the public is supporting the conservation of lynx in this area. So we had a good background for our necessary actions. So the goal of LIFE Lynx. So we have two things. We want to save the dinaric part of the population from extinction, and we wanted to build a stepping stone population in the Alps. So for the dinaric part, Slovenia and Croatia are working together. So in this case, also this international partnership was really important. In one case, in Slovenia, on the national level, the Hunters University, and then the international cooperation, so that efforts, not just from Slovenia, but also from other countries, are invested into the saving of this population. Because our hunters, if it would be just Slovenia, they would maybe question why others are not involved. And because Croatia is involved, this question never appeared, actually. So this is the long-term goal, to conserve this population and to connect it with among the populations, so no such translocation actions would be necessary, because the gene flow would come by nature. This is kind of long-term vision. So the goal of the project was to include 4 animals into the population in Croatia, 5 animals include the population in the Narik part, and create a stepping stone and release 5 animals in the alpine part of Slovenia. So when deciding about these releases, one really important thing was how to involve the hunters, what they can participate and how we can do it together. And in Slovenia, it showed that it is really important that we release them with the release enclosures where the hunters can take care for the animals. But before we started with the translocations, we also did a documentary, Path of the Lynx. Here we visited these hunters which released the lynx 50 years ago and asked them for their reasons. And we visited also the Slovakian hunters who were hunting the lynx back then, actually capturing the lynx for the translocation. So what were their reasons? Why were they doing it? So with all this, we created a documentary where we gave somehow the pride that the lynx is in our forest to the hunters. And always when we presented the project, actually, or when the project started, we didn't do any translocations for almost 2 years. So always when we presented the project, we showed also this video. It's available. So if you want to see it, you can find it. I can share the link later on. And we were showing how important the hunters were back in '73 and how we conserve together the heritage which was started by the hunters. So they have the ownership of these animals from the beginning. So if I go on to the lynx releases, here is a picture. We also have a short video about it. Here is a picture when the hunters are building a release enclosure. This was a really good way to involve them, the local hunters. So the locals could build the enclosure. They could take care of the lynx and also carry out the releases. So they felt they invested the energy into this action, and then the released animals are their animals. And when the hunters, this is discussed in the local community, these are kind of the best advocates for the action. And they also got a lot of knowledge during the process, and they can explain why it was necessary. So they are kind of local messengers in the society why this was done. So this does not need to be done by us. These hunters which are releasing the lynx are also explaining why this is necessary. So further on, these pictures are from the releases. So on the left, you can see the minister and the ski jumper, a really famous one in Slovenia, Peter Prevc. We gave them the kind of honor for the releasing for the release of the lynx, and on the right side they were also the hunters, which are the managers of that hunting ground. So we were not exposing ourselves, so Slovenia Forest Service, to why this is done, but we try to expose it other people. So the hunters and some important people who give the message to everybody else why this needs to be done. So when carrying out these projects, when I see around, it's kind of difficult. You invest a lot of energy into something, and people usually like to talk about it and put them in front. But we kind of turn this around. We are standing a little bit from the back, and then pushing also the communication to the hunters. This is our most important thing, that the hunters carry out the releases. So this is just now a result. What have we done till now? We have released 15 animals, 10 in the dinaric part and 5 in the alpine part. And 7 animals in dinaric part are already included into the population. So they are the territories are overlapping males and females, and also genetically we have shown already some reproductions of the translocated animals and the resident animals. And from this picture it's not so obvious, but the on the north, that is a stepping stone, which is at the moment not really connected with the rest of the population, but we hope that this stepping stone will increase and it will connect to the stepping to the dinaric part. And in between it's a kind of a big barrier. It's a highway between Ljubljana and the coast, and this highway also hinders the connectivity of these two. So also a green bridge is planned in the future, but let's see. Dylan will later give some other concrete examples how we include the hunters, but I just want to point out another part. So when bringing back a large carnivore, lynx in this case, it affects the prey species, and the prey species are the one which also are the hunted species for the hunters. So Slovenia Forest Service is preparing the plans for culling the prey species, especially roe deer here and chamois are affected. So we went out to the hunters and asked them what are the problems they see if they coexist with a large carnivore, and they explained what they see. And now we give this we give their we try to take into account their concerns when preparing the ungulate management plans. So for example, when we prepare a plan, what needs to be removed from the population, we are setting the number. So for example, yearly they have to remove, I don't know, 50 roe deer, 10 red deer, and so on. And if they don't carry out this, they can get fined by the inspection. But in our plan, where they have the lynx, we increase the tolerances. So you're obliged to carry out this prescribed plan for hunting, but you have a bigger tolerance. So if you don't manage to, you don't get fined. And this is really appreciated among the hunters. And from the other point of view, lynx is also having an influence on the prey. So we have to take into account when preparing the culling quotas also. So this is, I just tried to give you an example how we also try to listen to the hunters, what are their concerns, and try to include that into our plans. If I give another example, trophy hunting is an important part of Slovenia hunting tradition. So if a hunting ground can remove about, let's say, 3 adult stags of red deer, and if a wolf kills 2 of them, they have just 1, and they're really not happy with it. So when we can say, okay, also if the wolf kills 2 of them, you still have the same number of 3 to take from the population within this year. So this is then reducing the conflict between the, let's say, the hunter and the large carnivore. So to finish from my side, for this project, really big international collaboration was created. So one thing is the national collaboration, which I pointed out with Slovenia Hunters Association and the local hunters, and the international scene. So we have partners, as I mentioned, in Croatia and in Italy, the neighboring countries, which are Italy is also affected but by our releases, and Croatia is also releasing the animals. Actually, the kind of a side result of our project is also that the Italian colleagues now are releasing the lynx in their area. So we are all really 3 countries in this together, and this is also good for communication. And of course, Slovakia and Romania, which are doing a great job with providing the animals that we can translocate and release. Thank you.
So it's my turn now, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just share the screen. Can you all see?
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's gone now.
I'll do it again. Now?
We can see it, but it's in presenter mode, so we can see all your slides.
What about now?
Still the same.
Still the same. Now?
No, are you clicking on presenter mode? We can still see like, yeah, the rest of your slides. The first time you did it, we just saw the one slide.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Hi to everyone listening and watching. I'm Tilen. Hvala. I'm partly employed by Hunters Association of Slovenia and partly employed by Slovenia Forest Service. And I will shortly try to explain what Brock told you in theory and try to give you some insight on what we do in the field and in practice. So first, I would like to start with kind of the structure of Hunters Association of Slovenia, the organization, so you will understand how it works and why it was so important to join this project. So Hunters Association of Slovenia is the umbrella hunting organization in Slovenia. So it covers all of its area and it's the main one. If you move down the structure, we have 20 regional hunting associations that are spread out Slovenia through the regions, and 411 hunting family or hunting clubs, however you want to call them. And at the moment we have over 20,000 hunters present in Slovenia or part of the organization. What this means is, that this is a very big potential for active involvement of hunters and Hunters Association of Slovenia in nature and wildlife conservation projects. Why is this important, especially for the LIFE Lynx projects? Like Rok mentioned before, it's important because it's important that hunters accept the lynxes in their areas, but also it's important for the projects because hunters know their hunting grounds best, and you will see later on in the field, it's very important to use their knowledge for gaining knowledge about lynxes and their presence in the field. And this is why we also, Hunters Association of Slovenia, stepped forward and became a partner in the LIFE Lynx project. So now, firstly, I would like to share with you what local hunters do for the project and how they're involved. Like Rok mentioned before, they are the ones who take care of lynxes in the enclosures. Before the releases, they give them food from roadkills, mostly roe deer or chamois or whatever they find. They give them water and everything else that goes with this. And also they are, like Rok said, present at lynx releases, and we try to give an important message that they were the ones that took care of the lynxes, and with this they take the lynxes for their own. What I would like to emphasize here is that we were very proud of this happening actually 2 years ago in Gorenska region. One of the hunting grounds that was not planned at first to be one of the hunting clubs that releases a lynx. They stepped forward on their own and voluntarily said, we will also want to build an enclosure. We also want to release a lynx. So like I said, this was not part of the first plan, but of course we included them, and afterwards we released 2 of the lynxes from their hunting club, which was a very important step forward, and of course a very important also message for other hunters in Slovenia that this is important. We have to do it. We have to accept lynx and give them again a space in our forest. Hunters are also present at lynx captures and recaptures. This is important because this, of course, is happening in their hunting clubs, in their hunting grounds. Also, for the recaptures, we are using box traps, and of course, knowing their hunting grounds best, they also know where is the best area to put the box trap. And if they invest so much time and knowledge in this, of course, it's necessary that they are present. And also, by seeing a lynx capture and seeing this animal up close, it's a very important thing that they're present, because with this they take the animal as their own. We also, when we are capturing lynxes, if it's a new lynx that doesn't have a name yet, we let them choose the name, because then this is kind of like it's their own, like it's a kind of a pet, I would say, not really, but it's they take it as their own, and they're actually happy they have a lynx in their hunting ground, and also they are proud of it actually. Of course, all of the lynxes that we release or capture or recapture, we give them telemetric collars, and of course we use this also for gathering data about their predation. This is happening again in hunting clubs, and of course hunters are present when we are doing this, and this doesn't only give us important data on lynx predation, but this also helps hunters when they're present. They see how a lynx kills, and with this they learn from the field the importance of having a lynx in nature, and that this is a sign that the ecosystem is healthy. And of course, they learn that having a predator, large carnivore in their hunting ground doesn't mean that they will run out of their game animals, basically. And of course, like Rock mentioned before, this is also important data for adaptive wild ungulate management, and also hunters are very, very happy if we consider a presence of a large carnivore in the management plans. And of course, we get these numbers, and we of course show them to the hunters, so they will know what's the impact of lynxes in an area. This is the most important activity that hunters are involved with in the project. We are doing systematic lynx monitoring with camera traps. Of course, key actors are again hunters. Why? Because they know their hunting areas better than we do, and they give important knowledge on where to put the trail camera traps, so that we get good information about lynx presence. And also some of the hunters are very old, and they have information from the past where lynxes after the first releases in 1973 had their movement. And of course, if they put the cameras there, it is very likely that also lynxes now will use these paths again. So with the lynx monitoring, we cover over 4,000 square kilometers, and we are currently working with over 70 hunters and huntresses, which is very important. This is the data from the monitoring seasons. As you can see, the most important from the hunters' involvement point of view, the number of hunting grounds is growing every year. The season 2022-23, we have more than 60 hunting grounds involved. And if you remember from before, all of the hunting grounds in Slovenia is 411, and this is quite a large number that they're involved. Of course, we get also minimal numbers of adult lynxes and also number of reproductions. We try to inform hunters of this data every year by writing articles in Lovec magazine, which is a basic state hunting magazine, and so they are they're informed about the data that we gather and the minimal numbers. Now I will just shortly also explain what we as Hunters Association of Slovenia are doing for hunters. We are doing very big communication actions with hunters and gamekeepers, with events, with presentations, similar like this one today. But the main point of these presentations is giving knowledge to them about lynx ecology and biology, so that they will know better what the lynx does in nature and what is its impact to the ecosystem. Mostly these presentations are given by biologists, so they are scientists who work all of their lives with lynxes, and it's very important data and knowledge. We are also organizing lynx conservation conferences. On the left, you can see one of the conferences that we organized last year. It was named. It is a kind of annual event, Slovenian Hunters Day, which was dedicated to lynx conservation. And like I said before, we are publishing articles in Lovec magazine. Here on the right, you can see the monitoring results from the last season. On the other hand, what I would like to emphasize is that Hunters Association of Slovenia has zero tolerance for illegal killing of wild animals. And keeping this in mind, we also stepped forward in the project to increase the activities to prevent and better sanction illegal activities regarding wild animals, so illegal killing of wild animals. This is a photo of one of the 3-day meetings with police officers. They got these t-shirts, and this is also important that police officers take this very seriously, and this will in long term help preserve lynx populations and of course other wild animals. So like I said, we are cooperating with police, we're cooperating with gamekeepers and other personnel who is in the field and most likely to detect and call in on a suspected illegal killing, and we are also cooperating with the state prosecutor's office, and we are educating them about the importance of wildlife crime and why it should be actively prosecuted and sanctioned. And this is all from my side. Thank you for your attention, and I hope it was interesting, and we're open for questions and debate.
Great, thank you so much both for those great talks. It's really insightful. So yeah, we'll just open the floor for questions. If people want to raise their hand, and we can go through people that way, or if you want to put write in the chat, that's also fine, and I can read it out. Luis, did you have a question?
Yes. This one is for Rock. He talked about the
Sorry,
sporadic.
I'll just intervene before Luis. When you raise your hand, could you please introduce yourself very quickly?
Sure,
Thank you.
of course. So my name is Luis. I'm in the University of Kent in England, working with big cats as well. And my question is for Rock. You talked about actual and sporadic occurrence of lynx. My question is a bit technical. I just would like to know which method you used to estimate that occurrence, and if you've got any study can be referred to. Thank you.
Yes, as Tilen explained, we have really intense monitoring. But our approach is like this. We are sending questionnaires to all hunting grounds once or twice per year, and we ask about about how much they see the animals, if they feel the presence, regular presence or occasional presence. And based on these results, we then visit these hunting grounds and go and install the automatic cameras on the field together, choose the locations together, and afterwards these hunters are responsible to send us the cards, the SD cards, which is in the camera, so we can have the database about these animals. And we also pay them a symbolical amount because if you look at when the hunters look at the bigger projects like this LIFE Lynx is 7 million, and if they get nothing, they don't feel well. So it is important already as a gesture that you give them an amount of money. You're actually not paying for their work, just for some millage. It's a more symbolic gesture, but I would say it's really important.
Okay, thank you. It's quite a comprehensive answer, and perhaps I was not very clear. What I was referring to was what I meant was if you have conducted any sort of distribution modeling to actually assess the distribution of the species, or if the information you've got at the moment is all stored up as raw data.
I can share the report here, and you will see we are just producing a new one for the last season, but I can share the report about monitoring with you, so I will share it.
Thank you. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And Nolwenn, did you have a question?
Yes. Thank you, both of you, for the presentation. So my name is Nolwenn HWIWG. So I'm working for the French Agency for Biodiversity on research, and I am leading some project on a large carnivore. I have a question regarding the GPS data. Do you share them with the stakeholders, and how do you do that? And the second question is just to come back to the reintroduction in 1973. Why the hunters and the foresters, do you know why they decide to bring back the lynx in Slovenia? So what was a feeling? In fact, yes.
So for the second question, the reason was to bring back a trophy species and to give something back to their nature what was taken from it. This is the statement which you can also see in the documentary which I shared. Sorry, what was the first question?
Yes, what do you do with the GPS data? Do you share the data with the stakeholders? Because here, this side, we have this question. So they don't want to put any colors on large carnivores because it might increase poaching if people they know where the animals they are located, etc. So
we share the data, but we just with a slight delay. So we don't. So with the links, you can find the prey and the animal if you're really up to date. So if you put 1 week delay, it's already enough, and it's based on this. Let's say 3 points per day. You have really low chance to find the links then. So we believe it's better to share so the people don't have a feeling that we hide something from them.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Maria, did you have your hand raised?
I think it was someone else first, or maybe their hand is just down now. Okay. Yes, I'm Maria Gonzalez. I'm a PhD student in Spain. I'm working in a project related to human perception towards large carnivore restoration. So we have 3 different species here: Eurasian lynx, wolves, and bears. And I have 2 questions for both of you, actually. The first one is how would have this engagement with the hunters change if without this preceding positive attitude they had, because in the 70s they wanted to reintroduce the lynx, and how has this preceding action had for the enrollment of the hunters? I don't know if I've been clear.
Can you maybe explain a little bit more?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how would have changed the attitude of the hunters to get involved in this project without having this preceding positive attitude by hunters in the 1970s when they wanted to reintroduce the lynx.
So regarding the public surveys, it will be also next week a bit more explanation. But what I have shown was the first questionnaire. Before, we actually don't know what was the opinion of the general hunters. So the one who released the animals were progressive-minded hunters for sure. But we don't know about the general opinion back then. All through it was a general support in the air, let's put it this way. But it's difficult to say really about the percent, if now it increased or not. But now we measured it in 2010, and now when we started in the project, then the support is similar. So I can also share it. This is all this is on our LIFE Lynx webpage, the reports about this public service, public opinion service. So I can share also this, but I'm just sharing from the
I was just
webpage.
wondering because you said that it was key for the success of the involvement, and I was just thinking how to involve the hunters in such a project of similar characteristics in Spain, but we don't have this preceding action. So, and the second question is how would this perception attitude change if instead of lynx would have been another species such as wolf, because usually felids or this family is usually better seen by the general public and also hunters.
Maybe Dylan can speculate about this.
Well, yeah, with wolves, it's definitely much more complicated because they are also a bit more problematic because of the livestock predation and everything. But I think basically with wolves, with their dispersion potential and their fast growing of numbers and populations, you wouldn't need this kind of basically project, in my opinion. But yeah, I would do the same. Probably I would include the hunters as much as possible, and of course do as much as possible also for livestock protection, and of course involve the farmers and livestock keepers as an important part in the project. This is what I would say. I think the wolves are more problematic from the livestock predation point of view, not from the hunters, because also in Slovenia we have wolf packs present for quite a while now, for decades in some areas, and the hunters don't feel threatened by the wolves that they will kill all the ungulates or anything. I think this is my opinion personally.
Maybe just one information. We have about one attack of lynx per year on domestic livestock. So it practically has got no influence on the farmers. By the wolf, the numbers is more than 100. So this is an important factor, that in the local community there is no opposition from the farmers. And in our local communities, farmers are often also hunters. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. That was really interesting. Adriana, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I do. I think the comment from what Maria was asking, it seems like working with the sympathetic hunters to start with, isn't it? And then get the ball rolling. This because, as you said, there is a very large number of hunters and clubs and associations, and it seems to me, I just want to know if that's the way it happened. You started working with people who supported the lynx reintroduction and lynx conservation within the forest, the hunters organizations, and then from there you have this trust of messenger and spreading the positive attitudes from the inside. And is that how it grew, or is this the way to go in other places, even if you start with a small group? That's, yeah.
I think you made a good explanation. Yeah. Where we started was the one who were willing to set an enclosure, and this was not all hunting grounds. There were some ready to do it. And from there, now this word spreads. So yes, you're right.
And then my other question would be, what's the rate of threat to the lynx from hunting? Or you said that they had problems with genetic inbreeding and population decline before. Are they still being hunted? You said also that the hunters are very much on top of illegal hunting, but how does that relate to the lynx? Sorry, maybe Dylan wants to say something.
Can you explain a bit further? Just I didn't completely understand.
Just wondering if you still have hunters who are against the lynx, who would hunt lynx if they had the opportunity, or if this is still a threat to the population.
Yes, as you can understand, in a large number of people, of course, some part of these people will have strong negative feelings towards lynxes, and having this in mind, that this is a possibility, we also step forward as Hunters Association to work together with police and everyone else. It is saying now, yes, hunters would kill a lynx is kind of speculation, but yes, we had this in mind, and we think this is also a possibility. Yes.
So maybe to add, we had one detected illegal killing. There was one animal with the collar. It was an offspring of a translocated animal, and this is now under the police investigation. So we have one such case, which we are 99% it was poaching. We didn't find the animal. We found the collar and some blood of the animal. Then out of these 15 lynxes, 3 are missing. So we don't know what happened with them, but the collars have problems. So also other collars failed, but we photographed them, but 3 we didn't photograph anymore. So what happened to those, we don't know.
That's really interesting. Thank you. Does anybody have any more questions they would like to ask? I have one question if nobody else has any to ask. So some hunters you mentioned are against the lynx population reinforcement, and how have you handled this?
We try to do as much communication as possible, and I think the best channel to reach these negative-minded hunters is through other hunters, with peer-to-peer communication, with good practice examples, and I think this is the best way to reach these hunters. So the hunters communicate together, they trust each other more than they trust us, and this is, I think, most important, that some hunters see it's an important project. We have to have lynxes in our forests, and I think this is the best way to reach these negative-minded hunters.
That's great, thank you. Hannah, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, thanks, Faye. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a PhD student at Cornell, but I live and work in Scotland. I'm interested in the human dimensions of lynx reintroduction to Scotland. I've actually also met Rock in the past because I was working on the LIFE Lynx Project in Romania, so it's great to hear about how that project's getting on. My question relates to, so you mentioned that lynx don't really pose a threat to livestock, but in Scotland we have a lot of well, there's just not much acceptability for lynx reintroduction amongst farmers in Scotland, primarily because of fear of their impact on sheep. So I'm just wondering whether I don't know if you're familiar with the kinds of discussions that are underway here in Scotland, but it just that there's a lot of opposition from farmers, not so much the hunters, and whether you have any thoughts on that, or do you think the same kind of approach would be needed in Scotland to try to find those farmers that are more open to the idea and go from there? Do you think the approach would be the same?
I would say that yes, you should find the positive-minded farmers. But on the other hand, I think also in our case, we have a bear and a wolf around. So the bear and the wolf do the job and to the animals which are not protected. So the lynx is not a threat in our case. But if it would be only lynx would cause damages. I mean, it happened in Switzerland that they had damages when they had just the lynx, and they were not so small. So yes, if you would translocate the lynx to Scotland, it would need to be a significant effort put from the hunters for livestock prevention, and it's a much different situation than here, where we have the bear and the wolf.
Right. Thank you very much.
Great. Adriana, did you have another question?
I was actually going to ask something about how it translates to the reintroduction of the lynx to other countries, and this is very much what Hannah was talking about, the different landscapes in a way, isn't it? Of course, the lynx hasn't been in Scotland for a few centuries at least, and there are issues. You know much better than I do, actually, with the hunting interests. For competing for prey, and of course the landowners. I was wondering if there are other people working with lynx in other countries as well who would be able to comment on it, on the different pressures. Because here we know the contact with the hunting association would be about maybe different aspects, and the farmers would play a big role, and still we can learn a lot from the LIFE Lynx project in engaging directly these groups, I guess. But yes, I was just thinking if there are other people working with lynx in other countries, would be interesting to hear. Who are the stakeholders in your case and in your experiences? But if you, Rock and Tillen, would like to comment on this competition for, of course, you're talking about the hunters helping with management of prey, isn't it? And the hunters who may not have engaged yet with the project, or who might be killing lynx if that's happening, or even though it seems to be very rare, does the competition for certain prey with lynx, is that a problem? Would you suggest ways of addressing that? Even though you said that the biggest problems are bear and wolf, that we won't have here, I'm afraid. We might get lynx eventually, but bear and wolf probably won't happen. I don't know. If you can extend your lessons to this, I imagine the situation in Italy might be different as well, and you are involved in Italy in the conservation too, isn't it? Are there other pictures in the other countries that are involved in the conservation? Will they do the same? Will they be approaching the hunters and working with them in Italy and Croatia and Romania?
So if I comment about other countries involved, especially Italy and Croatia, it's basically the same approach. I mean, especially Croatia had a bit stronger opposition than Slovenia at the beginning. Their support was a bit lower towards the project, but the Croatians were doing also a good job with communication with them and with involving them. So it was kind of a, let's say, if the project and the communication would do a bad job, I'm sure that the opposition would rise. They would find some mistakes, something was wrong, something was not communicated, and those which would be against would rise. Now, in our case, this, let's say, we created kind of a positive wave. And also those who might be against, or let's say in our public surveys, it shows that about 10% are against, do not dare to stand up because they would be looked from the others like, are you crazy? What are you thinking? You don't want the lynx. So this creating this atmosphere is a really important part, I think, for how to say, to hold down also these negative people within the society which are there. So it's the same for also Italy when they are releasing lynx also now in spring in the border area, and we had just an exchange between our hunting association and their hunters which are involved. So again, the Hunters Association is the best manager for their hunters. So and this hunter-to-hunter communication, Dylan was saying before, on a local level, it's really important, but also internationally. You know, if Slovenian hunters go to Italy and say, okay, lynx conservation for now is for us, it's important. We want to have all the species in our ecosystem and so on. It's more difficult to say against than if just a pure biologist would come and talk about it. Of course, a biologist is in favor of lynx, but the hunter is telling that he's in favor and he's coexisting with the lynx. That's a different message. I don't know if I answered you.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
was
really...
just thinking out loud anyway.
I think that's really interesting because I know I'm also looking at human dimensions of lynx reintroduction to Scotland, and when I was interviewing farmers in Scotland, they very much referred to friends in Norway that were livestock farmers and what their experiences were with living with lynx. So yeah, I think that peer-to-peer is really important. So we've got time for 2 last questions. Nolwenn, I think you had your hand raised first.
Yes, it was just a comment to show you the situation in France. So we have the same troubles with hunters. So we are using also the same approach, trying to involve the hunters. But now we found out that it creates in some places some mistrust towards national office. To the conservation association, because they said, okay, the national office, they just want to go with hunters, but what are we? But we are some conservation association, and we would like to be involved. But now you are with hunters, so you might increase poaching, etc. So it's a bit the reverse, actually, for this conservation association. And we are also trying to work with the farmers, because with the arrival of wolves, the opinions towards lynx, which it was quite up to now, but now with our arrival of wolves, the opinion is changing, because it's we have too many carnivores in the same place, actually. Yeah.
Nolwenn, can I just comment?
Yes.
It's also in our case sometimes some nature conservationists or animal welfare people feel like, okay, we are not really part of this and so on. But I'm looking on it in this way: these people will not threaten lynx. Hunters might.
You're right. You're right. Yes, it was just a
So-
comment. You're right. It's okay. Yes.
Where to invest the energy are there where the threat is,
Yeah.
not where the
Cool, thank you. And then a last question from Amy.
Hi, it was more of a comment than a question. This is all really interesting. I've been scribbling notes frantically and I can't read my handwriting at all. Two things really. One, to say I find all this all very interesting, and the relationships we build between different organizations is really complex, but also exciting. It's one of the things that I try and work towards, is sort of coexistence. And when we talk about that word, even though we're working towards human-wildlife coexistence, actually what we're trying to create initially is coexistence between people to agree on how we actually create coexistence with wildlife. So I find that initial step really interesting. And when we're talking about hunters and farmers and then politics and other things, there's lots of other case studies where that also happens. I know that some organizations have had the same issue, where actually working with hunters and things like that has caused issues. So I suppose it's just taking people through that process very transparently around why you work with them, what is that going to give us, what conservation output that they want will it give us if we work with those people, and why we should be working with those people. There's a slow shift towards inclusivity rather than exclusivity. Not that that's even a word, but yeah, so I think that building of those relationships in projects is going to be really interesting going forwards when we're talking about more controversial species. And the other thing I wanted to say is, when we've been talking about livestock predation and all that sort of stuff, there's a paper that myself and lots of other people, there were like 23 co-authors.
Amy, I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself as well. You know, we know who you are, but other people don't.
Sorry, I'll do that at the end. But yeah, there's a paper in the moment that's being reviewed by Biological Conservation. Hopefully that'll come out this year. It's been ages. That looking at a literature review of human-wildlife conflicts for all felids globally, using lots of different data sets. Some aren't even accessible, they've been shared, which is great. France was one. So that might help some people, because obviously we included lynx in that. Obviously we looked at all felids. There's a large data set that will be shared with that publication, hopefully, if it comes out, that might provide some useful information and opportunities to find out more information about, which countries have more or less livestock predation by lynx. Anyway, just thought I'd shout out, that might actually be helpful to some people at some point. And yes, hello, I'm Amy Fitzmaurice. I work at Kent Wildlife Trust as their Human Wildlife Coexistence Officer. And I also work at Chester Zoo, managing the Living with Tigers project out in Nepal. Thank you. Great talk. Brilliant.
Great, thank you so much for that, Amy. That was really interesting. So I think that's all we've kind of got time for today. I just want to say a massive thank you to Rock and Tillen. The talks were really interesting, and the project's just excellent, and it leads a really good example. So yeah, thank you so much. And next week we have our second talk. So next Tuesday, same time. But that'll be led by Maya Sever, who is the LIFE Lynx Project communicator with the Slovenia Forest Service. And the talk will be on communicating to conserve the lynx. carrying out communication and science-based activities to raise awareness. So it'd be great if you could all join us next week as well. But yeah, thank you so much again, Rock and Tillen. It's been great.
That's great. I'm just going to say my thank yous as well, especially to Rock and Tillen and for Faye to chairing, and to everyone. We are the Human-Wildlife Interactions in Conservation Translocations Working Group of the IUCN. If you want to receive information from our mailing list, if you want to be added to our directory, please get in touch, and we just ask for a few information and hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.